Framed, Part 10. 6th of May. Cars today, blue Lexus, Mr. Choi. Weather, sunny intervals. Note, paintings are like mutagen. This is the day that Mr. Choi finally offered Tom a job. Even though it wasn't the job he wanted, it was still good. Picasso pie was easy to make. It was just apple pie with a big pastry nose and one pastry eye sticking out of the pie. Anyone can stew apples. Marie can make pastry, and Max was happy playing with the spare bits. In fact, one of the bits of pastry he played with, we used as the eye. It was a lot harder with the crispy choc constables. Saver Packet doesn't sell chocolate chips, so we had to use chocolate buttons from the shop. They taste nice, but when you put them in the cake mix, they don't look quite right. They look like eyes staring at you. Minnie suggested picking them out of the mixture and breaking them into smaller pieces. No one suggested letting Max help with this bit. He just sort of did it. He was very good at bashing up the chocolate buttons, but less good at giving them back. Also, it was during this bit that he tasted the cake mix, and after that he was like a shark that had tasted blood. We tried to keep him away from the bowl, but he screamed and screamed, so we had to placate him with a big spoonful. While he was eating it, our guard was down and he painted himself with the cake mix. It seemed like a waste to wash it off, so we let him sit there and lick himself clean. He didn't get that clean, though he did stay happy. When we put the broken buttons back in, it still didn't look quite right. As Minnie said, the ratio chocolate to cake mix has changed in the chocolate's favour. The finished cakes looked like bits of human buttons stuck together. The finished cakes looked like bits of chocolate buttons stuck together with a tiny mortar of cake. Mam was unhappy with the state of Max's hands and of the kitchen and of the amount of chocolate buttons we'd used. "Please stop eating the food from the shop," she said. "That's our stock. You might as well sit down and eat money." Minnie said, "It's okay, Mum. We've decided to outsource the cake making part of the business anyway. This means we've asked Tom's mum to bake the cakes for us. She said she was delighted to do it. All we had to do was collect the orders and get her the ingredients. I can bake anything you like," she said, "but I've never heard of a Titian tart." "We made the name up. You can put whatever you like in them," said Minnie. "Use your imagination." "Well, I haven't had to do that too often recently, but I'll give it a go." The men up the mountain ordered cakes every day, and different cakes every time. Sometimes there was some left over, so we sold them in the shop. We were soon selling more cakes than anything else, and we were getting more visitors than usual too, because of what Tom did to the window. Tom kept talking about the nut painting and how he was never going to see it again because it had gone to London. Then on the Saturday morning, we found him in the window of the shop, changing everything around. He'd been down to Saver Packet, and he brought great big bags of stuff: soap powder, raisins, cornflakes, pumpkin seeds, peanuts, everything. And now he'd moved all the antifreeze and screen wash out the window and replaced them with big piles of all this random shopping. He'd made like a carpet of soap powder and put a pile of raisins in one corner next to a big pile of cornflakes. Then he put little empty milk and juice cartons around the whole lot, and some bits from a barbecue set. I thought to myself, I can't paint, but that doesn't mean I can't make a still life to look at, does it? No, that's true. Minnie said, "Did you ever think of just stealing the original still life and looking at that?" No, I didn't, because I'm reformed. Everyone who saw Tom's window liked it, but Mr. Choi was the first one to actually copy it. He said, "This is good. You did this. You can do one for me." Obviously, Tom didn't normally talk to Mr. Choi or go in his shop because of Mr. Choi having ruined Tom's life by giving the job to the red-headed girl. But then Mr. Choi said, "I'll give you a tenner," so that won Tom over. Mr. Choi's window was empty except for a big blue glass fish and a pie advert. Tom took them out and put a lovely great big basket tipped on its side, spilling lovely new potatoes and onions all over the place. And in among the potatoes he put bits of fishing line and some floats in the net, and it made you hungry just looking at it. He was doing this first thing on the Monday morning, so everyone stopped to watch him on the way to school. After we dropped his girls off, Mr. Elsie the chemist knocked on Mr. Choi's window and asked Tom if he wouldn't mind doing the same in his shop window after he finished. Mr. Elsie's window used to have this big cardboard foot advertising corn plasters. When Tom went over there, he found all kinds of old-fashioned bottles in the back of the shop, and he put them in the window with a picture of an old man with a mortar and pestle. Mr. Elsie gave Tom 30 quid too. The window of the Snowdonia Mountain Rescue charity shop, that was a mess. Big piles of old clothes and books. They couldn't pay Tom, but they said he could choose something from the shop. So he picked one of those wind-up torches, and on the Tuesday he went in there and dressed up this old mannequin as a climber, bobble hat, boots, everything. He gave him a book to read and put a nice cardigan on him, and he put a steam iron in his free hand. The steam iron is a bit random, but it was such a bargain that it went that afternoon. The window of Mrs. Porty's newsagents used to be all notices and adverts. Then she got Tom in. He cleared the space and put a shelf in the window with all the boiled sweet jars on it. That doesn't sound like much, but it's the best one really. When the sun shone on them, they looked like jars of different coloured raindrops or jewels or something. The Spa even. They've taken that big green Spa sign down and swapped it for a great big photograph of Manard Mountain. It looks bizarre, but in a good way because the real mountain sticks up behind the picture of itself. The new windows are even in the paper. Look, what's in store? Window shoppers can find a feast for the eyes at Blaenau Road this month, with displays to match the best of London or Cardiff. Not that I've ever been to either of those places. The amazing transformation was started by Tom Egerton, whose display at the Oasis Garage, Still Life with Dry Goods, is now a town landmark. Tom, formerly known as Daft Tom, says he got the idea from looking at a work of art. He can't remember which one now, and he's not at liberty to say where he saw it. The new displays might attract new visitors if they ever hear about them. I've done my bit, but no one reads this paper unless they live in Manard. And let's face it, if you live in Manard, you already know about this. The best of London or Cardiff. Amazing transformation. That's like the turtles. They were ordinary household pets until they were tipped down the sewer. They fell into a puddle of mutagen, and that's what turned them into mutants. If they hadn't been mutants, they couldn't have become ninjas. When you think about it, the nut painting was like mutagen, transforming our town.